So I'd like to ask Mark Serwotka from PCS to say a few words. You have to do it blind, no?
No, I thought we were. Yeah. I didn't realise I was next. So I apologise for being the only person in the room with a tie on. I'd like to say I always put a tie on when I'm addressing a strike rally, but I've just come from the region in Parliament. I'm here on behalf of PCS, and I've come to bring our unqualified solidarity with the UCU, with all people going on strike, and our commitment that next week when our NEC meets, we undoubtedly will agree a donation in the thousands for your hardship fund to repay the solidarity that UCU has always shown PCS in the many strikes that we have. We currently have a number of disputes on. We have a strike on at the moment that is in for a month of workers in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, low-paid workers, maintenance, catering, security staff in the private sector, striking, would you believe it, for union recognition. They also have a march and a rally tomorrow, and I know some of them have already been on UCU picket lines. People will know we've had a long-running strike in Ealing Tax Office that's facing closure, and to inspire those of you who are on strike, I'm sure many of you, I recognise some of the faces, were on our picket line at Bays, where again we had mainly migrant workers, cleaners and caterers on strike for months, who won 100% victory, got the London living wage, sick pay, got the right to take proper holiday, and now we have a union that is recognised. Those disputes, and in the Bays one, union membership quadrupled as a result of that strike, and it sort of does prove a point. At a time when the union movement has been in decline, it's just about stabilised, rose by 100,000 in the UK last year. What it really shows, and what the Bakers show, Unite has shown, and all the speakers that you have, is when a union backs workers in struggle, and it says we are backing what you choose to do, the unions generally grow. Where unions are seen to be passive and sit back and try and dampen things down, then what you see is people who get quite demoralised. So I'm one of those union leaders who takes my hat off to a union movement that is continually winning stunning victories, which are United Voices and the IWGB. There are unions not affiliated to the TUC but are taking militant action in universities, colleges, health service establishments and others. And I think what we say about those unions is actually we do wish that we could work much closer with them. My own does work with them, but actually if they're standing up and winning for workers, we should applaud it and we should learn from what they're doing. There's been some great speeches. Sean Burnell, does everybody know who Sean Burnell is here? Yeah? So Sean Burnell, who is here, is somebody I first met in the mid-1980s. And it was when I was an activist in the Department of Health and Social Security in South Wales. And I met Sean because we had a strike that lasted for 6 months. And it was an all-out strike, and it was about casualisation. It was then because the DHSS, now the DWP, sought to bring 6 casual workers in, and we had a strike to say we would not work with casual workers. We wanted all of those workers to give them full-time permanent jobs. Now, that was in 1985, I think that was. It was after the defeat of the miners. But actually here we are in 2020, and what are we talking about? Not 6 junior people being brought in as casuals in the Social Security office. We are talking about people who, in my view, do some of the most important jobs that can be done. Both of my, they're not children now, but both of the Serwotka clan from my family have been to university. One of them's in university in Bristol. One of them formerly has left university, educated by UCU members, before that NEU members in Croydon, and they benefited by the skills of trade unionists who are equipping them for life to hopefully mean that they can have fulfilling lives in whatever they choose to do. That has not happened by accident, it's happened by the dedication, skills of workers who you represent, who are trying their hardest in the most difficult circumstances to give people a life chance. So these aren't 6 people in a Social Security office. You represent, in the economy and society that we work in, I think some of the most critical, undervalued, underappreciated jobs. Why therefore are you striking about pensions, about pay, about dignity and rights at work and casualisation? I simply observe this because of this. That under the society we live, not just education, although that's what we're talking about tonight. The business model now is precarious, insecure employment to make money on the expense of those who deliver the services and treat people in a way that individualizes, makes people insecure, so that to deliver that service, the bosses can, based on that exploitation, maximize their profits at the expense of those who deliver the service. So your strike is about the most fundamental issue for trade unionism for me. I've looked at some of the UCU research. I look at the fact that I see the percentage of people who are working in HE, who are researchers, who are on casualised contracts. I then look at the link. If you're on a casualised or fixed term contract, your pay will be less. If you're a woman, it's likely to have contributed to the gender pay gap. The statistics from your research about the effect of mental and physical health is astronomical, let alone dealing with the people who I've seen, some of your people interviewed on telly, who have moved physically 4 times from cities trying to bring up a family because they have no security to plant down a root. You cannot put a price, in my view, on how that undermines the dignity and security of people we should cherish, pay properly, give them proper pensions and a proper place, that the university system is currently trying to operate by doing the exact opposite. So as principal disputes go, I rank this as up there amongst one of the most important that we have seen. The fact that you're doing it and taking such a, if I can use the word, I think it's a joyous word, militant stance of long-term industrial action, not about protests, is giving the best possible signal, not just to UCU members, but to the wider movement and hopefully the bosses and the politicians. So I really just wanted to leave this thought with you, that our solidarity is unqualified. We will always seek to support you financially by getting people on your picket lines and hoping that you win. I have no doubt you can win regardless of whether anybody else goes into dispute. And I take the view that our job is to ensure that we give you the practical support to enable you to do that. But I just observe this, that if more other people joined in your dispute around their own linked issues, the victory you could achieve would not just be for people in education, it would be for health workers, council workers, civil servants, and every private sector worker who needs a strong fighting union more than most. So what I believe we have a job to do in the movement, and we have a general council that meets tomorrow, is to not just make speeches about how you are showing the way, but actually do something I think far more important, is to organise practical solidarity, but is to ask ourselves this. In my own union, PCS, we are about to launch a national campaign that will lead to a national strike ballot. We've had 2 in the last 2 years. They have been the biggest ballots of any British trade union under the new legislation, and last time we fell agonisingly 1.2% short of the threshold, even though we had an 80% strike vote and the biggest vote in the history of civil service trade unionism. We're now going to give it another go. And what's that dispute about? It is about pay, it is about pensions, and it is about the government about to cut our redundancy rights by 33% when they're about to make more civil servants redundant this year than we have seen for a long time. The CWU, as Jane will mention, will also be balloting. I have no doubt the CWU is going to win their ballot with massive votes. I just finished with this observation that we will be joining the fray. I'm sure the CWU will be joining the fray. But one of your things in your dispute is pensions. I will be going to a meeting, we've already been. Every public sector trade union in Britain, which represents the overwhelming majority, by the way, of trade unionists, currently faces a government that is robbing our members of their pension entitlement because they haven't implemented their pension valuations that mean our contributions, for example, should be cut. They are intending to make our workers pay for the illegality of their actions that the FBU have shown in court. It affects civil servants, it affects teachers, council workers, NHS staff, every single member of a public sector scheme. Isn't it obvious that if those millions of workers in our unions decided now to make common cause and say we're going to do what we did in 2010-11, that saw 2 million people in 29 unions have the biggest strike in a generation, what is that likely to do to you? It is likely to mean not only can you win quicker, it could mean we could all win. And to pick up finally Richard's point, when we know an election is going to be many years off, we are now the opposition to this Tory government in the country. It is our now more than ever is not a time for defeatism, for a time to be saying pick your battles carefully. It is not a time to be saying, oh gosh, we're demoralised about December. December was shit, but we are where we are, aren't we? Now's the time to say, you are leading the way. It is inspirational. Our members in the Foreign Office are leading the way. Jane's members are leading the way. But if we all get others involved, we could see this spring and summer turn this round into not a period of mourning about Boris Johnson's 80-seat majority, but a period of celebration that workers are fighting back. And if that happens, you in your union should take the credit that you lit the fuse in the way that students lit it back in 2010 over tuition fees and the unions had to run to catch up. So I bring solidarity. I say victory to you all, and we will help you whatever way we can. But I finally hope and plead that all of the unions will take their place and fight to defend their members' pensions at this time. Then we all win. Solidarity.